gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxey.
What's up, what's up, what's up, and welcome to another edition of the Boxing Breakdown. I'm your host, Mark Roxey, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Mr. Harold Hunt. What's up, what's up, what's up?
How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm good.
Glad to be here.
I'm good, brother. Thank you. If you were tuning in, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast, thank you for being on the broadcast. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe down below and really just kind of get in on the conversation. We're here for you. So if you'd like to join us, get right on in. And listen, today we have an absolute amazing guest. I'm serious, guys. This is an amazing guest. So I'm just going to read a little bit about this guy, okay? Because I'm just so excited to have him back. He hasn't been on the broadcast since 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, Adrian Clark is a well-known figure in the world of boxing, recognized for his roles as a boxing manager and author of the book, Protect Yourself at All Times. As a boxing manager, he has gained recognition for his work with world champion boxer Errol Spence and his expertise in navigating the complexities of the boxing business. In addition to his managerial achievements, Adrian Clark has shared his knowledge and insight with the boxing community and aspiring managers through his book, Protect Yourself at All Times. This book delves into the intricacies of the business side of boxing, offering valuable guidance and advice to those looking to succeed in the industry. Adrian Clark's contribution to the world of boxing, both as a manager and an author, has made him a very respected and influential figure in our sport. His work continues to be a valuable resource for those seeking the understanding and the complexities of the multifaceted landscape of professional boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome to the broadcast Adrian Clark. What's up? What's up? What's up, Adrian?
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm going to get you right here on the screen. Give me 1 second.
Take your time.
There we go. Boom.
Good.
There we go. Hold up. All right. There we go. Adrian, what's up, man?
I didn't know if that was my theme music, man. I didn't know if I was supposed to dance or freestyle.
Yes,
or what, man.
yes, we were gonna run that commercial, but we put a kaboot on that commercial right there. What's up, man? How you doing?
Good, I can't complain, bro. How are you?
I'm good, bro. I'm really good. Thank you for being with us. You're in Dallas, Texas, and we had a little snafu with our timing today.
Yeah, man. I'm glad I thought to ask you that because I was like, wait, I'm out. I'm like, wait a minute. I think he's on East Coast time. I live in Dallas, man, so I'm on Central time.
Nah, but you got it. We got it, man. We did what we had to do. We all went and took a quick little break, gathered our thoughts, because, man, you guys that are listening in today, we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff, okay? So, so Adrian, what's been going on with you? What's up?
Well, a lot, man. Just building the Fighters First Management. We currently have 7 clients. Otto Wallen, big heavyweight, probably next heavyweight champion of the world, it looks like. Brian Norman Jr., who's fighting November 17th. Justin Paldo fighting November the 16th, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Justin Figueroa, Sean McCallman, Shariah Moreu. I'm trying to think of everybody off the top of my head in order, but we have a really good group, man. So just building Fighters First Management. Then of course I just introduced the online course for aspiring boxing managers with the boxing manager certificate. So there's just a lot going on. Just trying to keep the creativity flowing, man.
I'm just always astounded to hear, because every time we talk, I mean, the last time you were on the well, I follow everything you're doing anyway, but because you're really making moves. And the last time you were on, we were talking about, the Everlast deal, and we were talking about protect yourself at all time and the great value it offers to those of you out there that are fighters, that are in the business. It's just an invaluable tool. You got to have the book because it just, it covers so much. And, we're going to get into that in a second, but this Fighters First management is new. This is new because you've been managing people, but this particular, am I correct in saying that?
No, it is. I think when we spoke, I don't believe I was. Yeah, this is the second year. We're not even on really finished with year. But I took the CEO position, and it's funny, people still think I manage fighters. I don't manage fighters anymore. I'm just I run the company. But Jolene Mazzone, who was known for her matchmaking work with Main Events, with Kathy Duva for the last 25 years. Jolene Mazzone is now the president of Fighters First Management, but she's the on-paper manager for the fighters. So,
wow. It's in Marietta, Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't manage fighters anymore, but yes, Fighters First Management is definitely new. I accepted the position. I believe it was 2022, February or March of 2022, and I tend to build things pretty swiftly. I love building things. I love architectural work, whether it's with my hands or with my mind. So it's been a good journey, man. It's been a good journey and a good fun journey, actually.
Wow. So, I mean, tell us about your previous books so everybody knows that there is a library of Adrian Clark books. Just give us the titles of those books, and then let's get into this training course.
Got you. Just really quickly, my first book is titled A Guide for Young Entrepreneurs. Second book is Protect Yourself at All Times, a guide for professional boxers. Third book is Boxing Equals Life, more of a motivational book, just kind of on life and how it's synonymous to the sport of boxing. Fourth book is my memoirs as a boxing manager titled Dark Horse. And my last book is titled Divorce Behavior. It's a book I went through a divorce about 5 years ago, and just helping men out with coping with divorce and understanding their feelings and emotions, things of that nature, things we don't really talk about as men. And then my final book is actually probably going to come out at the end of this year, which is kind of a novella, something that's outside of my wheelhouse, but what the hell. And I'm gonna stop at 6. I won't do any more after that. There we go. There's the family right there. But I love writing. I love writing, and I love getting my thoughts out. So there it is.
Just amazing. I mean, it's amazing what you've done, and now you've got this management training course. Tell us about the management training course.
Yeah, so, I've been in the business since I was 23, like actually managing fighters. And it's no disrespect to guys that are just in the business that are around the fighters. But at 23 years old, I was negotiating contracts, for the athletes. And it's a big difference being around the athletes as kind of a handler where you're there, accommodating to their needs is one role. But when you're actually managing and you're negotiating the contract and looking to push their careers forward, man. It's a totally different ball game. But when I came in at 23, there was literally no help. I was fresh out of college, literally maybe 5 months. Graduated from Texas A&M down in Corpus Christi,
Right.
And Jerry Belmontes, who was 11-0 at the time, like he remembered me from school. I fought in the amateurs, and then he knew I was working with NBA players. He wanted to know if I could help guide his. And although I was mature in business, I didn't know what the hell was going on in the sport of boxing. I just knew the inside of the ring stuff. I didn't know the business side of the sport. So I figured, I could just go to Google or something like that and figure it out. And there was literally nothing online to help me understand the boxing business. I didn't see any contracts or examples of contracts. I couldn't just pick up the phone and call someone. It was really difficult to figure out like the blueprint of the business of boxing. So I didn't want anybody to go through what I went through learning on the fly as a manager, because there were years, man, where I'm like, bro, I don't know what the hell to do at this point. Jerry, we went through a contract dispute with his promoter. He didn't fight for 11 months. And I'm like, bro, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to. But that's the reason for the course, because, I managed for 9 years, and I went and did some consulting and things like that. And in 13 years, 14 years, there was still nothing on the internet to help managers understand what it really meant to manage a fighter and to kind of give them the blueprint of what it is. So that's what the course does. It gives you a good crash course, a good education on what it is to be a boxing manager, what's expected of you, what you need to do, and what you need to know. And that was important for me to actually get finished. And I'm glad I got it done, because it took a lot of work, a lot of time. So I'm just glad to actually have it completed and have it out. And it's been about a week and a half since we've been out, since the course has been out. And we have, I think, 23 people so far that have signed up for it. So things are moving, man. So I hope to continue building and educate the new wave of managers coming in.
I love I love that you're doing that, because I've managed fighters for years, and one of the things that those of us that are in the business of trying to help athletes with their career in a very complicated sport with lots of different levels of and lots of different characters, and managing fighters, you have to really, it's a difficult thing to do, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can actually do more harm to a fighter's career than, and we know people don't go out intending to do that, but managing a fighter, it takes a lot of very unique skill sets. So talk to me about, well, first of all, you've been successful in your career. You've been managing fighters. You've managed a number of boxers, including world champion Errol Spence, right?
Yep.
And you've managed a whole host of other people. I'm sure you've advised 1,000 others. Just tell us, right? Can you share some insights into what it's like managing a high profile athlete? What is that like?
I think about just my start in the NBA. You're dealing with 20-year-old like multi-millionaire guys that they got an 82 game season, and everyone's in a different. You talked about levels earlier. Everyone's at a different level. You got guys that are trying to break into being a superstar, influential, and then you have guys that are role players. I try to treat management the same way as you're in the people business. So you're dealing with people at the end of the day, whether they're a world champion or someone with an upside down record. They could be making millions of dollars, or they could be making very little money. Just try to treat people the same and understand that you're just trying to relate to the athlete, help them understand that you do understand them, but it becomes more of a friendship than anything. And I know people talk about separating, friendship and business. It takes some work, but I just try to treat everyone the same, give them the same respect that I expect from individuals that I'm either friends with or doing business with. But what's important for me is treating everyone the same, whether it's Errol Spence Jr., who's world champion and made millions of dollars, or if it's Shariah Moreu, who has only had one professional fight, who doesn't make that money. Just try to treat everybody the same. That's my mindset.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that makes you super accessible, which really speaks to how you've been able to build quite an interesting roster of fighters. I mean, you've got an interesting roster of fighters that you just named earlier at the top of the program. And that's because, of that philosophy, and that, everybody really is equal when they come in, whether you're making $1 million or you're making, $1,800.
Right. It's important. It's important, man. And, we try to strive at Fighters First to do a few things. One, make the athlete knowledgeable of what's going on within the industry. And I forgot to name Gio Pereira, who did an amazing job against Isaac Pitbull Cruz. But forget about the fight. That was Gio's first time on mainstream scale, and having to do media throughout the week and having to balance making weight, dealing with the media, getting ready to fight your biggest fight on Showtime, families there. There was a lot, and he handled everything, man, like he had been there before. It was really amazing to see. But just try to, our biggest philosophy is make them knowledgeable of the business, and to make sure that they take home more money than they would with a traditional manager who's taking, whether it's 15, 20, 25%. We're looking to provide a product or provide a service that's better than the competition for less than what the competition is charging. It's almost like you've seen American Gangster with Frank Lucas.
Yeah.
Even though not to tie drugs into we give a service that's better than the competition for less than what the competition is charging. And this is our second year, man. It's people are going to see, whether it's in the next year or two, what we're providing, what we're doing at Fighters First. No other management company out there is doing this. So it's going to get real interesting over the next couple of years.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it is. And, the plot thickens. And, the thing is that, my wife and I had this conversation the other day, right? Adrian, we were talking about contractors. And if you wanted to really go into business, if you were a contractor that actually did what you said you were going to do and the time you said you were going to do it, you would be a multimillionaire as a contractor. Because we all know, everybody listening to the program knows, finding a viable contractor to come in and fix your faucet is or whatever you need them to fix is not an easy task. It's complicated. And the same is true in boxing. In boxing, the boxing industry is littered with, I don't want to say uneducated managers, because there's a lot of educated managers, but it's littered with, every walk of, there's no, in most states, all you need to do to become a manager is fill out the application, right?
Yep. That's it. So you can say uneducated, all of them. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
Jay Prince is one of the most legendary managers in the business.
Yeah.
He had to learn on the fly.
Yes.
Al Heyman had to learn on the fly.
Yep.
Frank Espinosa had to learn on the fly. Keith Connolly. Everyone that, if you're a manager or have managed in this business, nobody came in educated. Everyone had to learn on the fly. And it's not okay, but I believe that with the sport not being structured, there's no association to boxing. It's been made okay that, you know what, anybody can just get in. So the problems that people, bitch about in the sports, use my language, it's just based off of the sport is not structured. There's no association. So yes, anybody can get in and become someone or do what they want to do. It's an issue, but then I'll say it for you. Yeah, there are lots of uneducated men. I was one of them. And I was a young guy at that, 23 years old, managing an undefeated fighter. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Right. Yeah, man. I mean,
years to figure it
no,
out.
I get it. And for all of you managers that are out there, listen closely. Up until now, there really hasn't been anybody who stepped forth to say, hey, listen, I'm going to provide a manual, an actual manifesto for how you can successfully manage fighters in an industry that is completely secretive. Yeah. And unregulated. And how cool is that you're doing it? You know, I'm really impressed with it, Adrian. And I think it's I think it's a service that's incredibly needed, both on the managerial side, but then also you talked about, doing right by the fighters. And, the only person that really can cut a kind of percentage like you were talking about, right, are family members of fighters, right? Yeah. Or cousins or uncles or, really close-knit communities. It's not possible.
I mean, make it to me. I'm a pretty smart guy, and I'm not saying that braggadociously, but eliminate a college degree, anything like that. I'm big on common sense with numbers, and I think about a lot of fighters because Gabriel Rosado made a comment one time because I did a video and it was talking about, fighters paying 33 and a third. And he commented saying, who's still paying that? Like no fighter out here is just broadcasting, I just signed a managerial contract and I'm paying 33% of my purse. There are a lot of fighters still paying 33%.
Oh yeah.
And I think about that and I'm like, I don't care. And I gave an example of Facebook. When Facebook first started back when I think in my first year of college, it had like a $1 million valuation to it. And their very first investor was billionaire Peter Thiel out of California. And for, I think, $500,000 investment into the company, that gained him 7% ownership of Facebook. Now, I know Facebook is a social media platform, and then we're talking about fighters. However, like in a company that had already a $1 million valuation, this gentleman puts in $500,000 to get 7%. So it becomes a negotiation. So I look at fighters and I'm like, okay, this guy's coming in and he's telling you he'll give you $2,000 for, let's say it's 2 years. So what, $24,000 or something of that nature? And for $24,000, he can take 33% of your purses for the next however many years. Now, again, we're talking about numbers here. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So it's just the point of just negotiating. And if it doesn't feel right, then it's not right. And there's nothing wrong. And I try to get through fighters' heads all the time. Bruh, like all they can say is no, or they don't feel comfortable, or they don't want to do that. Everything is negotiable in the sport of boxing. It's the point of you hearing something and saying, no, I don't want to do that. I feel comfortable doing this. And then they're going to tell you what they're feeling comfortable doing. And you just go back and forth till you come to a common ground of what makes sense and what doesn't. But I can tell you now, 33% doesn't make sense unless that person is putting in a hell of a lot of money.
Hell of a lot of money and a hell of a lot of time.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Because, I mean, there are different... Managing a fighter can mean making a couple of calls or reading through some contracts, help advising them, or managing a fighter can really be, managing every aspect of what that fighter's doing, how the training camps get put together, who's in the training camps. I mean, it can be so what are some of the challenges you have or a manager would have working at the highest level?
Like what it's become now, I believe the managers of old, because like now we have social media, we have phones, we have email. Right. It's a lot easier to manage a fighter these days. You can literally sit. A lot of managers have jobs that they do. They're on their jobs, like managing fighters on the side, whether it's sending emails or text messages. It's a lot easier. back in the day where guys actually had to drive certain places, or you had to fly somewhere to hopefully meet with a matchmaker or a promoter to hopefully get a chance. It was a lot different, man. But some of the struggles you run into as a young guy getting into the business, aside from understanding what you have to do, is like the financial piece of it, because fighters need certain things, whether it's equipment or whether they need help with paying rent or paying cell phone bill or things of that nature. A lot of managers, and there's been a lot that have come into the game and they've had the money and they've given out a lot of money and they never got the money back at all. It's basically throwing money at the prop, thinking, okay, well, as long as I just give them money, everything's fine. So one of the things I talk about on the course, and I'll kind of give this one away, you have to have a separate loan agreement. Don't bind the money that you're loaning out to the fighter with your managerial agreement, thinking that, okay, well, if I keep the fighter for longer, I'm going to get my money back.
Yeah.
No, don't mean that. You need to have something. Yeah, you need to have something separate, because I believe in this, man. Like, no, there's no such thing as holding someone hostage. It happens a lot in this business, but I'm not holding nobody hostage. I feel like this. If I loan you out $2,000, like, I want my money back at the end of the day. Right. If we're not vibing and like we want to go our separate ways, or you want to fire me, that's great. But I'm going to have a separate loan agreement that states that, okay, I loaned you out $2,000 between this time. Like, I just want my money back. I don't care if the other manager pays it. I don't care if you pay it. I just want my money back, and I'm sayonara. That's, to me, one of the biggest hurdles that you're going to like face in management. Everything else, you'll figure out. The relationships you have to build, you know what I'm saying? The relatability to the fighters, you have to do that through experience. But the biggest thing for most people is, man, I'm giving all this money. I don't know if I'm going to get a return, or giving all this money, but I'm trying to keep the fighter longer. It's like, nah, just have a separate loan agreement, man, and you should be good from there.
Yeah, okay, I got a question for you. The paperwork. What is the actual paperwork? I mean, you sign a mortgage, you got this paperwork, open a bank account, certain paperwork. Then you've got some, paperwork that's kind of shell paperwork. It's pretty easy to negotiate and sign and understand. But for a management situation, is there wording that says, okay, if I want to release you, I have to do this. If I want to retain you, I have to do this. If I want to change your percentage, I have to do this. What is the actual gist of the paperwork? I mean, is it intricate? Is it simple? Is it something they can understand? Because some of them are not educated as such. Do they need a lawyer? Do they not need a lawyer? Do you handle all of that for them? I know it's a lot, but that's what I tend to hear from fighters.
Oh, yeah, no, the contracts, and a lot of managers they copy and paste different contracts they've seen before, but it's complicated, man. Like, those things are not easy to understand. There's different words in there that it's like, and nowadays we have access to the internet, so you can look up what a lot of these words mean to get a better understanding of it. I do believe that managerial contracts can be very, very simple. Like, I think with Fighters First, our management contract is 2 pages long, and it breaks down the different clauses in layman's terms to where when we signed Brian Norman Jr., Junior, Senior, and myself, we sat down in an Atlanta hotel. We went over the entire contract, clause by clause, me reading it to them and then me telling them in layman's terms what this clause means. That's doable, but you have a lot of contracts out here right now that's 18 pages long, and it's a lot of just legal verbiage that neither the manager nor the fighter understands. The manager probably can't even describe it. So that's what makes things a bit difficult, but there are extensions and there are things that like assignment. Some people don't understand what assignment means. Assignment can mean that, okay, this individual owns this management company, but if this person passes away, they die, then the contract, so your management contract as a fighter is now assigned to his wife, who he gave all of his assets to or whatever. So now she runs the company. Assignment can mean that, but it also can mean that, all right, I'm your manager. like, this is the contract that I have, so I control your managerial destiny. If another manager, like if Mark comes in and says, hey, Adrian, I like Joe Blow fighter, I'll give you $30,000 for the rights to that contract. I have the right to assign that contract to Mark without consulting with the fighter, his family, or anything. So I'm 30,000, 40,000 up. And then it's like, hey, like, here's your new manager. Good luck. Like, that's not fair to the fighter. But that's, again, different clauses in the contract that can trip up a fighter or even sometimes trip up a manager. So there's different clauses in there that, to me, it's a bit extra. And a lot of managers they're safe on, all right, cool, I got him for 5 years, because there's no termination clause that the fighter can walk away. We have a termination clause in fighters' first contracts, but a lot of other managers, like, no, you're not walking away from us, whether we're doing our job or not. You're not walking away. We're keeping you. And
and there's and to your point, we talked about challenges earlier in the sport, mostly because I think your initiative, Adrian, and what most managers intend on doing, hopefully, is they're there to protect the fighter, right? Protect the fighter from, the perils of bad business deals. However, so often managers, sometimes are at the center of bad business deals. And, I'm saying some things that we know as an industry what's really happening, or a fighter, just isn't happy with his management for whatever the reason is. There's 1,000 of them every day, right? Could be. And then the fighter, continues to do things that are outside the lines of the contract, outside the terms of the contract. And then you have a legal issue, right? And most of the time, what you're dealing with is fighters who aren't, as you stated earlier, as well educated in the management pieces of their careers. They're fighters. And so it's really, like what you're doing with this boot camp will help managers prepare better so that they're more organized with how they're dealing with fighters. And it'll also help the fighters, because the fighters will be more educated as well as they're dealing with managers. And that can only help the industry, because really what's lacking. So the danger of it all is a lack of knowledge. That's what gets everyone in trouble, is when their intentions are good, or their heart is in the sport, or they're fighters through and through, but there's a lack of information. And sometimes fighters get scarfed up, and get pulled away from their teams because there's lack of information, or it's so complex, and it's a great conversation to have, but the paperwork and the percentages, you start out with a good percentage. You're a fighter, and you're happy with giving away, 20% to your manager, and another 10% to your trainers, and then another, 5% to the Uber driver, and then you got your gloves, and you got to still buy your clothes, and and then you got your food and your meals, and then they start pulling money out of all that. And then you got the promoter who gets a percentage, and you got the man. It's crazy. And then before you know it, the fighter's going, whoa, and there's, right. And they don't even want to fight anymore.
I mean, at the end of the day, my focal point is, all right, I provided protection and education for the fighters, and now there's education and protection for the managers. You're getting that information that wasn't there before. Like, I've provided that, and I'm going to continue to provide that knowledge year after year, because like I was thinking about, Errol Spence and Charlo, like, and even Crawford, like, we've watched the beginning of their careers, and now we're seeing of those guys' careers. Now there's going to be a new wave of fighters coming in, and it's going to be that way every year. There's going to be a new wave of fighters, but I feel like I have to start at the amateur level instead of trying to catch them when they're turning pro. You got to catch them early to help their parents and them understand what they're getting into in regard to the business. And that's why, I feel like USA Boxing, and don't get me wrong, it's not a part of their job description to help prepare fighters for the professional ranks because they don't know who the hell is going to go pro or not. But I do feel like even when I partnered with them a few years ago, it just wasn't important for them, for the fighters to know about what they're going to get into next. And I feel like, you have these kids from literally 8 to 9 years old all the way to 17.
Yeah.
That's more than enough time to help them understand the basics of the professional boxing business, whether you turn pro or not. You need to know this.
Yes.
The ring, they don't care about that. So I saw on like the itinerary, like what's next. What's next for me? I'm not going to say I'm looking to destroy USA boxing because honestly, an amateur, roundup is needed. We need USA boxing. However, we need USA boxing to be better. And now that this kind of chapter for me of like providing the education, now it's out there for both manager and fighter. Man, my next move is to challenge USA boxing, challenge them hard in regards to providing an educational system for their entire network, not just the Olympic team. That's just a very, very, very small percentage of fighters that make up the sport. The entire network needs to know.
Let me say something here. Mark.
Go ahead,
Back to the amateur thing. A lot of fighters don't understand the basic things that a manager does. I mean, the A, B, and C, the watered down. What does a manager really do? I mean, of course, they hear the wordage and they see this and all the things that Mark is talking about, but the simple bare bones, they don't get it. They don't know what the basic thing is. What does a manager do? Does he tie my shoe? Does he give me a hotel? What does he actually do when I go to the gym every day in, day out? What is my manager's true duties, basic duties? And once they get that understanding, then they can absorb the rest of it. But right now, if they don't have a baseline, they are totally confused. And they do what Mark do. I don't want to train anymore. My percentage here, my percentage there. So I know you've talked about that. It's in your books, and that's what you do. But here's another opportunity, I feel, just to kind of give it a clear, basic, bare bones understanding of what a manager is to do for a fighter in this situation, where he's coming out to the Olympics or whether he's coming, he has his book filled up in amateur boxing. Now he has the opportunity to go pro. What is the step-by-step simple mechanism?
Right.
Gotcha. Yep.
No,
I 100% agree. And sometimes I feel like it's too, even with Protect Yourself at All Times, I wrote it in my mind to its simplest form, but it can be broken down even easier than that. The fighters just need to know a simple, like, A, B, and C, as you said. What does this man or woman do? What are they supposed to do for my career? That needs to be broken down to the simplest form, but they need to understand that early. If you're just understanding or becoming to understand what a manager does, your first fight, you're behind the 8 ball. You need to know what a manager is supposed to do, what a promoter does. You need to know the different titles, the different roles of these people while you're in the amateurs. And by the time you turn pro, you should know not necessarily everything about the business, but you should know, it's simple, what your manager does for you. So 100% agree, H.
Yeah.
So let's go with A. What's A? A
is they negotiate. A is they negotiate your contracts. Anything to do with your fight purse or sponsorships, endorsement deals. If you're in commercials and things of that nature, your manager is your spokesperson, your representative. They're your mouthpiece in regards to your career. That's A. B. And B, good question. B is they market you. They market you to promoters to get fights. They market you to companies to get money outside of the ring. They market you to different reporters so you can get interviews. They further push you out there. That's B.
And if there's a C, that's easily
C, they should be some a confidant, someone that is giving you a blueprint of how your career should go, how we're flowing. Now, once a promoter is involved, then you have another dynamic that comes in and say, well, this is what we think is best. But C is your manager should be the one that wholeheartedly that you know that you can trust in regards to the direction of your career and which way that it's going. Your manager has to not only have a plan, but to be able to share with you, okay, well, this is what I'm thinking that we should do they're going to come with this, but we should go this direction. It should be more so a career planning thing. And then the conversation should be had of, all right, yo, listen, it's getting to the point where your career is coming to an end. What are you going to do next? It's not the point of them to walk you into your second career, but the manager needs to throw out there, have a good understanding of what's next for the fighter. But I feel like that's A, B, and C from my standpoint.
I just finished writing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I was going here while you guys were talking, Harold, and a couple of things. As you guys were talking, I was just jotting down some notes, and I wanted to go back to what you said about the fighters in the amateurs. It was interesting because I just did a fight earlier today. This morning, I was at a show, and I was working with a couple of fighters, and one of the things I was thinking about as we were getting ready to box is, there's really no equity in it, right? Because the boxers, even when they're amateur, are not even learning. They don't necessarily know the rules of how to compete in an amateur competition. And there's very limited knowledge to help them learn that. And the trainers, a lot of times the trainers they don't read the manual. They don't read the handbook. They don't read the rules. So they don't necessarily always even know the rules of the sport, the rules of engagement. So then this is a pattern, right? You got an amateur team that takes the fighter all the way, to the precipice of a professional career. And then the fighter has no knowledge about what it might be like to even go that route. Should they go that route? Is this something I should even be considering? Right. And then if they do cross the precipice and they do go into the professional world, they don't have much business knowledge at all. So, and then you're going to ask them to make business decisions and make business calls with very little business acumen. And so this whole idea of having an institute or a, it starts out with this management course, but how does that look for fighters? How does it look for, so that there is a place maybe at the Olympic training center, or maybe, I don't know what it looks like, but there is something there.
At the end of the day, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mark, but at the end of the day,
I'm sorry.
I do feel like the sport, the NBA players, NFL players, MLB, they're all employees of the association.
Yes.
Honestly, I feel like if anybody boxers need, there should be an association started to where it's easier. Because even thinking about something as complicated yet as simple as like paying taxes, like LeBron James' taxes is taken out of his check. So
Right.
LeBron James doesn't have to worry about, So with boxers, a lot of, whether it's Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Joe Frazier, I believe Muhammad Ali at one point, all of the greats have had their fair
Tax
share.
issues. Yes.
Yeah, because you're independent contractor, you have to pay your own taxes. And again, law-abiding citizens, it's like, oh, well, that's common sense. It's really not. A lot of people don't pay their taxes. Yeah. However, most professional boxers, you're making millions of dollars in one set day.
Yeah.
And you're expected to pay your own taxes. Most guys just don't understand that, or they don't know it because it wasn't taught to them. So I feel like the pressure is one. At the end of the day, it's put on the fighter. You have to seek the knowledge from the fighters to the parents, mom or dad, uncle, aunt, grandma. If you are in this business, if you have a fighter, a son or a daughter that's a fighter that's looking to turn pro and make this a career, if you're only focusing on what goes on inside the ring with wins and losses, you've already lost in the grand scheme of things. You have to seek the knowledge inside and outside the ring. Expecting boxing to provide everything that you need to get along in this sport, that's fictitious. Boxing it's a sport that happens to be a business, so they don't provide anything. If it were, I think about the PBC. If the PBC was actually the staple for boxing, then you would have the PBC Fighters Union. It's on the Fighters Union to provide the information of what you need to get through the sport on the business side. We don't have that. So therefore, the fighters and their families have to make it just as important as winning inside the ring. They have to understand or learn the boxing business. If they don't, you can't expect anybody to teach you anything or give you anything in this industry.
Yeah, that leads right into my next question. You have family members who want to be the manager, and of course, that's their child, that's their of their blood. So then their outlook is going to be completely different. It's not necessarily going to be management, as you said. It's going to be looking out for their kid, where they need to be looking out for the management part of it. I mean, can a father or a mother or a relative be a good, effective manager? Because of the tie-in with that fighter.
Good question. Because I have a son. My son is 5 now, and I'm being able to sit back and watch. I'm like, you know what? Although I know this business, I know I can manage my son. It's too personal of a tie for me to manage my son. I would much rather have if Ace decided he wanted to become a professional boxer. Now, don't get it wrong. Whoever he's going to hire as manager, you got to come sit down with me. Like, we have to have a one-on-one sit down so I can understand your philosophies and what you know about the business. However, to answer your question, it's very, very difficult to bring that mixture of whether it's momager or the dad looking to wear multiple hats in the fighter's career. We all see the dads that are involved with the fighters' careers, and we've seen different stories.
Positive and negative, yes.
Oh, yeah, we've seen it. I mean, you think about Shane and Jack Mosley. There's a story that, was placed back in the 80s or 90s. It typically doesn't end well because it takes practice. You're trying to be dad, but then also you're the trainer and manager on one end. It'll confuse anyone. But to answer your question directly, yes, moms, dads, aunts, uncles, I believe if they take the boxing manager certificate course, if they take that online course, you're getting the knowledge that you need to manage a fighter's career, to get that hit the ground running, essentially. Now, the relationship and how things go from there, that's going to be on the fighter and the family member. But if they feel like that's is what they want to do and they want to keep the money within the family, then I provided a platform to where they can do that. Will it work for a mom to be managing your career?
Well,
yikes.
Well, one thing that's prevalent is a fighter loses a fight and he wants a scapegoat and he goes right after his manager and he gets rid of the manager, that type of thing. Okay. Sometimes the fighters can't get away from the manager because the contracts or what have you, or the personal relationships or what have you. But if a fighter really needs to move on, it's always sensationalized, it's always negative. How can a fighter actually move on and not have an issue? Does a contract dictate that, or is it a personal thing that dictates that? How can a fighter rid himself of a manager that he may not like or he may not understand and move on without scuttlebutt? Because promoters are like, well, you dumped your manager, I don't want to mess with you, and that kind of thing. How does one smooth that out? How do you negotiate when you want to leave your manager?
It starts in the beginning. So when you first sit down with the manager and they give you their contract to go over, like as a fighter or even having a lawyer that's present or a family member, someone has to speak up and say, well, listen, there's no termination clause in this contract. You have everything here that protects you. However, if you're not doing your job, if he's not moving, if he's not making the money that he desires, whatever it may be, there's no out for him in this contract. So it starts in the beginning before you even sign that paperwork. If you eventually want to out because this individual is not doing their job or they're not adequate, if there's no termination clause that you can exercise, then you're going to be stuck. And it happens so often to where I've seen probably everybody's contract, top to bottom. Every manager has a termination clause in there for them to where they can fire you if they want to, and they can walk away however they want to. If you lost a fight or you look bad in the fight or your promoter drops you, whatever, the manager can walk away, but they have their termination clause in their contract to do so. But it's never a termination clause in there for the fighter that they can give the manager 30-day notice or whatever notice to alleviate their duties and go forward. I got to say this out loud in regards to our company with Fighters First. We're not holding anybody hostage. The only thing that we would want back is
Your
any money
initial-
that we may have loaned you.
Right.
That's what we want back. I'm not holding anyone hostage. I don't care how great of a fighter you are or how much money that you may bring into the company. They say that there's more fish in the sea. There's going to be more fighters out there that we can represent. We're not. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
On the outside, just like a record contract, you get upfront money, the album sell. If they don't sell, you get dropped. You still owe the money to the record company for recording time and all that kind of thing. Okay, now I think that's akin to these contracts, correct? So what I'm thinking is, if you have to release him and he owes you a whatever amount of money or what have you, how do you go about recouping that? I mean, you say, well, you owe me so much, and over time, they may not get it to you. Do you use, I have to be on this side of the fence. Mark's on the beautiful side. I'm on this side. But what I'm saying is, I have to ask, how do they get a chance to actually get the money back to you, not tarnish their opportunity to work previously? Is there a clause? Do you end up taking them to court? I remember so many things with Don King and different people. And right now you got De La Hoya and what's the name going through their thing, and they're still working together. And it's a money thing. Just for transparency, how do you recoup the money if they're not able to do it, or they don't have the wherewithal to understand how to do it, or they can't hire a lawyer, or their accountant doesn't know how to structure it so you get your money back?
It's as simple as this. Like how most managers do it, they freeze the fighters. It's like, oh, well, if you want to leave me, like, no, we're not letting you out of this contract, and we're not going to attempt to get you any more fights. You sit on the shelf until you come back with a better attitude. That's the older mindset of how most managers work. In regards to a situation now, if one of our top clients does not want to be with our company anymore, but they still owe us, let's say if it's $5,000 that we loaned them that they don't have right now, you can move forward with another manager. You can give us 30-day notice or whatever, but whether it's your manager, your new manager, that's going to take care of your loan situation, or if it's broken down by fight basis to where, okay, you move on with another manager, you make $8,000 in a fight, and then you pay us $1,000 out of that. So now you owe us $4,000, and in your next fight, you give us another percentage. Things can be working out over time. I don't want to be like a loan shark to where like we're coming to the gym to break knees for X amount of dollars. It's not that situation, but whether your new manager is going to take care of the debt that you have, or you pay it out on a fight by fight basis, things can be worked out to where you still move forward with your career and don't stay stagnant on the bench to where you can't make any money and you're not active at all. Like I've been there before numerous times.
I mean, Andre Ward went through that. Mike, he went through that.
Yes.
And those kind of things, they have to be avoided some kind of way. But as you said, since there's no overall body, there's no one to mediate that, and they're just out there. So I just wanted to ask, how you guys look at it differently and how you navigate that kind of thing, because there's always a little sticking point, when this kind of thing happens. And that's why I wanted to ask that question of you.
Yeah, sometimes.
And it's a great question, but I mean, being square, I'm not gonna hold anybody hostage. Now, however, we'll take your ass to court. Now, if we go do your thing, you're making money and you're not paying, bro. Like that $5,000 is gonna turn into $30,000 because like we're gonna come legally to come get you.
And that's why I was asking. In the contract, does it state if in fact monies are owed to us and we don't get it on a basis that we have agreed upon, is there repercussions? And you're saying you will take a legal run with that?
I'm definitely taking that road. I've been reaching out so many times, bro. You're not responding. Okay, cool.
Listen,
we'll go to legal road.
You're talking about multi-millions of dollars switching hands in some cases. And if these things aren't ironclad, written up in a contract, if they're not real clear, then you're going to get into a lot of problems. That's just what it is. And whether it's millions of dollars or the zeros are different, and you're talking about hundreds of dollars, the problems are the same. The zeros are different, but the problems are actually the same. Whether you're working with a fighter that, just got paid $1,800, took 6 weeks off to train and ends up with, $500 at the end of the deal, or $200 at the end of the deal, and they're not happy. Right. Or you get a lot of times managers say, hey, I can get you fights. I'll get you fights. You'll be fighting. You'll be active. Fighters want to fight. And oftentimes you hear the problems associated with the numbers in the contract that says, oh, you're supposed to get me 4 fights. And then the manager or the promoter or both say, well, I had to only offer you 4 fights. And you said no to 3 of them.
Let me make this. A manager, this is to all fighters, a manager can't guarantee you fights. If a manager is trying to guarantee you fights in the contract, that is total BS. A manager cannot guarantee that.
See, and that's the fallacy is so many fighters agree to. Go ahead, please. But that is something they think about. They don't understand.
Managers cannot guarantee you fights. Promoters can guarantee you fights. Right. They're the ones that are signing checks and putting on the shows. They can guarantee.
But they're the ones who are so unregulated. That is the crazy. I'm not crazy, but that's the part of it.
Yeah, and it really is. But there's also, and again, it goes with how strong your representation is, because if your promotional contract states that they have to give you, or they're allocated to do 5 fights for the year, and they fall short 1 fight, that's a breach of contract. Now, with a breach of contract, that doesn't mean that, I can walk away scot-free from this contract. There's a cure, C-U-R-E, a cure that comes with every breach that there is. So if there's a breach, and it should be negotiated, or having your contract, promoter and manager or fighter have 30 days to come up with a cure for the breach. And most of the times, the cure is money. You want to get paid for them not coming through with what they said they were going to do. That's true. It's on your manager, if you have a strong manager, to get with your promoter to say, hey, you owed him a 6th fight. You didn't get the 6th fight. How are we going to cure this? Are you going to just send him a check for an X amount of dollars? Are you going to do something for next year to where he's due an extra fight? Or are we going to take a year off of the contract so we can walk away? There's different remedies or cures to breaches. But if only promoters can guarantee fights per year, managers cannot guarantee that they're going to get you.
Hey, Mark, I got one more. I got one more for him, Mark. I know you like.
Let's go. Go, Errol.
I got one more.
Yeah.
All right. Why would a manager want to leave a fighter? What could happen where he would want to terminate his services? Would it be, just off the top of my head, would it be incompatibility with the trainer, not adhering to the contract, creating some kind of foul inside the ring, outside the ring with the law? I mean, how can a manager relieve himself of a problem situation so his reputation can stay intact and he can move forward and get other fighters who are going to work with him as he needs to? How can a manager relieve himself of a fighter?
Oh, like you answered the question just by going through it. I mean, if there's a guy that he's crazy outside the ring to where he's just doing all type of things, breaking laws and not only making himself or herself look bad, but making the company look bad, I'm gonna send a 30-day or a 15-day notice, letting them know the reason why we're not gonna work with them anymore, and then we move forward. But managers let go fighters for different reasons. If you lose a fight, then they probably let you go. If you get dropped by your promotional company, they're probably gonna let you go. If you look bad in the fight to where you were gifted a win and they don't see you doing good in the future, they can walk away, given the termination clause in their contract. And most of that is done either they'll just send you an email, or they'll send you certified mail, or they'll just give you a phone call to let you know, hey, it's been fun, but we're going to go in another direction. It can be that way for the managers. And my thing is, if it can be that way, it's a contract agreement. So the key word is agreement. We're agreeing to things. If you can walk away whenever you see signs of trouble, the fighter should be able to do the same exact thing in regards to the contract agreement. But there has to be an agreement between both parties. If the fighter is just signing what the manager is putting out, then that's the agreement. So, a manager can walk away because of literally anything.
Wow. Yeah. No, Harold, that was a great question. And listen,
I got more.
No, dude, we could go on and on, but I got a couple. I got a couple of hotspot questions for you, because we always like to do these hotspots, Adrian. So
Okay.
Thoughts on Showtime?
I saw it coming.
You saw
I
it?
saw it coming. Yeah, you know, like 8 tracks were replaced by CDs or something like that, and VHS tapes were like replaced by DVDs, and cable television is not really going anywhere, but streaming services are winning. Everything, you know, it progresses in life. So I figured if they were getting into like more so a streaming service and it's Paramount, then, you know, you saw HBO pivot
Right.
years ago. I figured it was coming with Showtime. It just was a matter of time. But I do feel like how spaced out the sport is. Don't get me wrong. It's not just TV networks like pivoting because at the time the sport is set up in a very, very bad way. So it makes it easy for TV networks to be like, we're not trying to deal with. They're so spaced out. The NBA is easy to deal with because it's all under one roof.
Right.
Easy
one entity.
One roof.
Right.
Yeah, so it's easy.
Yeah, just quickly, supposedly it's different from HBO. HBO got rid of boxing because on the bottom line, boxing did not look good for them and they wanted to move on. But this situation, it has nothing to do with how well Showtime's done. They had a banner year. They made plenty money. Everything is good and plenty. It's just that the parent company decided to get rid of everybody combat sport, not boxing, not just boxing. Yeah, everything is out just because that green sock does not belong in that drawer anymore. I don't care how beautiful it is or whatever, it's got to go just because of the bottom line. So it's not against boxing because it's not doing well. It's just that on the bottom line, they had to get rid of it. Whereas HBO was like, this entity is not doing well for us. So, Adrian, who do you think is going to take up the mantle next? Where do you think, being in your situation, is Heyman going to go to Amazon, or is Heyman going to go to someone else? Is he going to sit side by side with ESPN with DAZN? I mean, what's going to happen with that? I mean, in your opinion,
if I were him, I would sell Premier Boxing Champions because like Al has dealt with ESPN, like Fox, CBS, Bounce, Spike. He's been through all of the networks, so he can place it at DAZN. DAZN would love to have Premier Boxing Champions because at that point, DAZN would then have
dominate.
Yeah, they would have everyone except ESPN. So I'm pretty sure DAZN would love to have it. I imagine with Amazon, it will probably be something that's more pay-per-view based. In regards to having Premier Boxing Champions, you want to just put the best fighters on. They probably wouldn't care about putting on, the build-up fighters. So I feel like DAZN will probably be a win for Premier Boxing Champions, but if it were me, I would sell the company and wash my hands with it. Al Heyman did a great job of innovating the sport and holding it hostage for quite some time. With that said, he did a horrible job of not bringing it all together because Premier Boxing Champions is a boxing series for TV. That's on their About page. So if that's what the company is, it's a boxing series. It just would have been great to have all the promotional companies involved in that boxing series so we can see all of the fighters fight against each other, just as we see in the NFL, all of the teams essentially play against each other, whether it's in a regular season system or playoff system. But I feel like he doesn't owe anything else to the sport. But to answer the question, it will be great on Amazon or DAZN or both for that matter.
How does that affect you? Because you're a manager. You have avenues and place your fighters to make money for you and your company and their families. Okay, with that entity gone, that's less places where you can get them to work. Okay, so how does that affect you? Do you have to double up on ESPN? Do you have to double up on DAZN? Do you have to double up on these streaming services that are able to approximate some of the funds that you need to pay that fighter and take care of yourself? I mean, what's your plan of action with them gone?
I smile and laugh because I never did. I didn't do business with PBC as is, so like they.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They, for whatever, I think I know some reasons why I won't talk about. They don't do business with me, and I don't do business with them. Essentially, I wish them the best, but them like Showtime being out, of course you have to. I've been through this before with HBO pivoting out, and then I've seen this the shift when PBC came into play. I was in boxing when it was Golden Boy, Top Rank, PBC wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? I saw that, and then I went through the transition of PBC coming in and then people just dropping like flies.
But you got Earl.
No, that's the thing. This was my first fight. First fight officially working with Errol Spence Jr.
Oh, okay.
Officially. For a decade, I've been working behind the scenes with Errol Spence Jr. So the Everlast deals you've seen, that was me negotiating on his behalf. But in regards to anything else, like, no, it was and you probably just hit it on the head of why things. But this was our first fight officially. Everyone knowing that Errol Spence Jr. is working with Adrian Clark and Founder of First Management.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't. To answer your question, it doesn't affect Fighters First Management. It's just none of our clients will fight on Showtime again. Giovanni Cabrera was the last one to fight on Showtime pay-per-view. Now it's just moving on with whatever is next. But we're open to work with whoever.
Listen,
I hope they're open to work with us too.
Let me get through my hot spots here. I got some hot spots, some more hot spots. Here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Pound for pound. Give me your pound for pound best. Who you got at the top of your list?
You can give us 5. You give us 5.
5? Ooh. No order, or it has to be in order?
No order.
You're on the spot.
Oh, yeah. Canelo, Crawford, Fury, Davis, Gervonta, and that's 4, right?
That's 4.
Yeah, one more.
The kid from is it Inoue?
Inoue.
Yeah, Inoue. Yeah. That would be my 5.
No Stevenson?
No, not yet. Not yet. If it was a 10, I would put him on 10. 5?
Okay.
No. 5? No.
All right.
Great.
Spots, go.
All right. Awesome. I'm just writing that down. Okay. So top 5. So here we go. Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford rematch at 147. Is it a done deal? We know the date. What's up with that? No comment?
No, I mean, if it was a done deal, then it would have been announced by now. I can honestly say, bro, I'm not gonna say no comment. I don't know. That is the comment. I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Yeah, you'll see next year, but they won't fight again this year. So
can you speak on the weight, 54 or 47, or you don't want to touch that either?
Honestly, bro, I can say honestly, I don't know. Like I really don't. I don't think, Crawford won, so he controls, what weight the fight is going to be at. But if I had to give my opinion on it, I think Terrence Crawford feels like he probably feels like there should be no rematch just because of how one-sided the fight was. So I think he wants to move on with something else. And then both of those guys are older, Crawford especially. So Crawford is looking like, what's the biggest payday for me before I get out of this sport? And he's more so looking towards probably a Canelo or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, for right now, man, it's a bunch of I don't knows in regards to that situation.
Well, I don't know if you saw this fight this past weekend with Santillan knocks out Rocha. Did you see that? Rocha, excuse me. He just showed up, man. He just kind of showed up into the landscape that, because they were talking about setting up Rocha with a possible matchup with Crawford.
Yeah, but like Giovanni, he ain't just like that kid. He's been killing it.
But you know what I'm saying? He just showed up.
I know what you're saying, but that happens a lot prematurely. People set things up, and it's like, nah, bro. Like one punch can change anything, and then you got a dude. Even think about David Stevens. Like they were pushing David Stevens, and like he got stopped, like just with a big shot, wobbled him.
Yeah,
and now it's totally different. So I don't ever put the chariot before the horse. It's like, bro, win this fight, and then we can talk about what's next. So
for sure, yeah, that fight was a it was pretty much a beatdown. I mean, round 5 and 6, man, they were straight up beatdowns, triple hooks, uppercuts. I mean, it was quite a those of you listening in, man, If you haven't seen that fight, it was on the Zone. Go play that back, because that was an amazing fight this weekend and it really surprised me. I just didn't think it was going to be so one-sided.
Man, you can't and I'll answer this in short. You got a client, don't skip over nobody. Don't
Exactly.
we win this fight, we're gonna get such. Nah, bro.
You're only as good as your last performance.
Don't think about what's next. So focus on this fight, because this guy knows what they're trying to do next and knows that he's a stepping stool.
Yep.
He coming in with a different motivation. Focus on him.
Yeah, Mark, ask him that question right there. The Andre question.
Oh, I'm about to hit it with that. Okay, here we go. Hot seat. Demetrius Andre versus David Benavidez. Who you got? November 25th.
Be diplomatic if you need to.
No, man, I don't shy away from too many questions. I answer. It's like whoever gets mad or whatever, I don't care. Andre, of course, is the better boxer. Like, he's the better boxer. However, I don't know what he has to keep Benavidez off his ass. But that's my only thing. Like, what is he going to do to keep him off of him? But I'm gonna go with Benavidez.
Yeah. Are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Benavidez.
I've got to throw this in right quick. Benavidez squares up. He does. Yeah. He comes straight in, shoulder to shoulder, right in your face, and he's trying to beat you down.
Yeah.
We know Andre will turn that body, give you less body, and he will jab and he will move and he will counterpunch. Yeah. Now, I haven't seen Benavidez have to work with someone who's doing that to him. Okay. And like you said, if he has the power to move him off of him, that's good. But as far as him just coming up, I think there's a lot of surface area for Andre to land. And that, to me, I see a decision, an upset decision.
Wow. Upset decision. Real quick.
What was Andre? His last fight was when?
Andre, in February in DC. I was there. I was with him in that fight, not in his corner, but I was there, and he looked excellent in that fight.
And then his fight before that was like, what was this, like, his activity? That's what I'm asking you about.
It was sparse. True.
Yeah, that activity, man. I mean, even though he looked great in that fight in February, but sometimes activity or inactivity kills the fighter. If he was active, super active as much as Benavidez has been, then I think my stance would be different. But I think he understands that if he eliminates Andre, then it's like there's less talk of, well, you haven't fought anybody or you guys need to fight each other. I'm glad he took this fight. But yeah, I'm gonna go with, you're right about everything you said, but I'm gonna go with Benavidez.
All right, last hot seat. Here we go. Haney Prograis, December 9th.
Man, Regis is my guy, man. Regis is my guy, man. I love Regis. I love Regis, man. I remember sitting down with him years ago when he was without management, and I was like, bro, I ain't got no money right now, but I wanted to represent Regis so bad. He's gonna come out hard, and it's gonna be, I think this is gonna be Devin's toughest fight.
Really?
It's gonna be his toughest fight because Regis is gonna come with it. But man, I just think it's gonna go to a decision, and Haney's gonna win by a split. That's, if I had to call or bet on it, yeah, Haney wins by a split decision.
Wow.
I almost agree with that.
Yeah.
I had to see the weigh-in and all that. You know, you have to see the weigh-in and see the body language and all that kind of stuff. But initially on the outside, I see a decision split, as you said.
Yeah, that's what I see.
Listen, you guys, look, this has been one of the most thrilling podcasts we've had in the last couple of months, and it's been great to have you on. It really has, Adrian Clark. Hi, just for those that are listening in, how do we get your books?
I mean, if you go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble, you can type in my name and author behind it, and the books will come up. If you're interested in being or becoming a boxing manager, teachable.com. I partnered with teachable.com, and the boxing manager certificate is available on teachable.com. Also, if you're just interested in the business or learning about the boxing business from a managerial standpoint, I started a website. I started like a blog that's called boxingmanager.net. And it's me just writing different short blogs about different things that are going on in the industry. But it also gives you a list of the different boxing managers in the business, and it shows internships in regards to the boxing manager certificate. So boxingmanager.net It's somewhere for you to go, whether you're a fan of the sport and want to know the business side, or if you want to become a manager, it's a good place to hit up. But calling all future aspiring boxing managers, I want more and more new blood in this business. A lot of old blood in the business that has kind of ran down the sport in so many ways. But the more newbies we get, the more new guys can kind of learn the game, and we can try to change some things.
But how can you move them out? It's like a preacher in the church. He gets old, right? And he doesn't want to let the young ones come up because he enjoys that power. And his congregation goes away because he was young and now he's old. He wasn't done when to give up the power, correct? So how does that happen with the managers? They need to move on, but they don't want to move on. How do you move them out?
The good thing is, you know what? You don't have to move them out because this business, the sport, opens it up for everyone. So like, there's no need to try to move out a Prince or a Frank Espinosa. Time and the way that the system, whether it's social media or whatever, it's moving differently now. And honestly, like, those guys have earned their day in the sun. So like, let Jay Prince or Frank Espinosa out, let them stick around for as long as they wish. However, the more of us, the more younger guys that are coming into the sport, making change, making moves, and putting a dent into the system, it forces the younger guys, the amateur guys of tomorrow, it forces them to look in our direction. So I'm not looking to kill off or behead anybody, not just yet, but for right now. One of us that we have.
Okay.
Well,
Mark?
Listen, guys,
I'm complete.
I know you guys have made this night complete. And those of you tuning in, we just couldn't bring you Adrian Clark, Protect Yourself at All Times, and all his great literature and his endeavors, which I'm sure are going to continue into the next decade or further. And I just want to thank you for being on the program. Thank you for tuning in. Harold, thank you, as always, for being my partner in crime. And
hey, real quick, Mark, if I'm not mistaken, man, my condolences. I believe you lost your brother, I believe it was.
Yes, I did.
Condolences to you, my man. I wanted to tell you that, and I know we're not in person, but
thank you.
My thoughts were with you when I saw that on Facebook, man. So my condolences to your family.
Thank you so much. Yeah, my brother was my right-hand man and protected me. I grew up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and my brother was right there with me everywhere, every day. Just an amazing man, and he will be missed for sure. And thank you for saying that, and thanks for being on the program, man. Really?
Yeah, man. I get all your stuff from Barnes & Noble, man. I go in there, I say, hey, pull that up, and they bring it down, paperback. I'm like, okay. Yeah, so I read all of it. I'm here in Atlanta, man. I be trying to chase you guys down over there. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. Well, Mark said, don't say nothing to him. So I
I'll be in Atlanta on Thursday, man. We have a big meeting on Thursday. So,
dude, I would love to holler at you, bud.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Mark, if you don't mind, man, text them my number, put us in a group text. But I'll holler at you when I get to Atlanta.
I got you. I'll give you the contact, share you guys the contact, and thank you guys, man. You were awesome. Thank you for tuning in. Peace, love. See you on the next episode of the Boxing Breakdown. Adrian, love you, bro. Peace.
Respect, man. Love you too, man. Y'all take care.
All right, y'all.
Man, Adrian.
Peace.
All right. Oh, Mark, that was a good one right there, boy.
That was awesome.
Fans, join host Mark Roxey and special guests as they break down all aspects of the boxing world, including news, business, management, training, promotions, fan reactions, upcoming events, matchups, future boxing stars, title fights, state of the boxing world, and all the stuff you don't see when you watch
all
boxing.
of it.
This podcast is released each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streamed on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook Live. It's the Boxing Breakdown, hosted by Mark Roxey.